adventure, Jeffrey Purtee.
Have you ever looked forward to an adventure, anticipated adventure, eagerly awaited the day, and when that adventure came, it wasn't quite what you expected? The year was 2007, and I was a newly minted RV owner. After 2 years of fastidious research, I bought the perfect RV for me. A Lance truck camper that I packed proudly on my 2005 Ford 3/4-ton pickup. I was ready to see the world. It was time for my shakedown cruise. Thanksgiving week of 2000, I picked the truck up 3 days prior. I'd gone through the overview they always give you. I knew everything about my RV, and after 3 days of driving, I was something of an expert, if I do say so myself. The day arrived. Off I headed down 395 towards Phoenix, Arizona, where I would rendezvous with my wife, who had the good sense to fly down. We were having one of those events that I'm sure many of you experienced, a high wind event through Washoe Valley. Now you're probably saying to yourself, I remember those events. That's where they have the big flashing lights that say, trucks and high-profile vehicles exit here and go down the side road. You've seen those signs? I saw that sign. We had multiple signs. But I'm driving a pickup truck with a camper on it. I'm sure I don't qualify. And besides, after 3 days of driving, I'm an expert. I don't need any stinking side road. I'm going right down 395, as God intended. Everything starts okay. I'm driving along, doing pretty well, and then it happened. The first 45-mile-an-hour crosswind. Bam! All of a sudden, I'm in the next lane over. I have a very vivid memory as I'm fighting my truck, looking over to my left and seeing a little kid in the back seat of his mommy's car going. He looked only slightly more terrified than I looked. Because I was scared. I learned something on that day. A pickup truck is a pretty stable device. A pickup truck with a camper that is 10.5 feet high is like a giant wind vane for wind. And when you hit those crosswinds, you are juking back and forth, lane to lane, and I'm sure the people behind me thought, who is the drunk with the RV? I wasn't drunk. I was scared. I probably looked like I was drunk because I was like this. I made it through that day, and that leads me to lesson number 1 for your RV experience. No matter what the dealer tells you, no matter what anybody tells you, RVs don't handle like the family car. They don't even come close to handling like the family car. When you see those warnings about high wind, when you see those warnings about steep hills, here's my little tip. Pay attention. They mean you. When I was doing my research, you do a whole lot of things to justify a $22,000, $23,000 purchase, and one of them is a cost-benefit analysis. I'm a financial analyst by trade. Now, I was doing a lot of traveling at the time, down 395 into the back country, and always having to stay at motels and hotels, and I thought, well, you know, this would be a good way to save money, don't you think? Stay in my own little camper. Being the brilliant analysis that I did a cost-benefit analysis, and I realized that if I were to purchase an RV, avoid those motel costs, avoid eating in motels, I would have a payback period of 23.7 years. But then I learned something interesting. My 14-mile-per-gallon truck, when carrying a 3,000-pound RV, no longer got 14 miles per gallon. And at that time, $3.50 a gallon, now moving up towards $4 a gallon, it was getting a lot less. My first stop, because I'm a veteran record keeper, not too bad. I got 11 miles per gallon. That was all downhill. I finally got to the flats. My next gas stop, I'm getting 9.7 miles per gallon. I get south of the Lone Pine on 395 and I run into a headwind, and I'm keeping up with the traffic at approximately 70 miles an hour, and my next 3 gas stops averaged 7.3 miles per gallon. I figured at this rate, I am spending more on gas than it costs me to get to the motel at night. I am using up all of my motel costs in just gas. I was wondering if I would have to get to the point where I'd have to actually leave a siphon from the last gas stop and follow me down to the next gas stop so I wouldn't run out in the middle of the road. Doing a quick calculation, I realized my payback period was now negative. I couldn't possibly live that long. In fact, I was losing money every time I drove the RV. My second life lesson to those of you considering RV purchase is no matter what the dealer says to you, no matter what anybody says to you, your gas mileage is going to be awful, horrible, terrible. You will be like me, crying at night at how much you spend on gas during the day. During the overview of the RV, they quickly brushed across something that I later realized why, and that is how we handle bathrooms on an RV. They explain to you, you have this little hose, you hook it up, you do it, you release it, all good. Okay, release what? Well, you know, you got a bathroom in here, you go, you release it, it's all good. Okay. I make it to my my second campsite when I finally need to empty what we refer to as the holding tank. After looking at the instructions, I hook everything up properly. Into the thing it goes. I'm about to get there. This looks pretty easy. Pull the plug. The thing at the bottom pops up, sprays me all over from the bottom of my pants. I immediately shut the thing off, and I'm looking down going, you know, I never had a bathroom incident like this. That's okay. I'm already messy. Might as well fix it. Hook everything back up, make sure everything's right. Pop it open again. The top one comes out, spraying all over me again. Off we go. Lesson number 3, my friends. Just use McDonald's. Don't even bother to use your RV. It's too much trouble. But if you decide to get an RV, take all these 3 lessons to heart and hope that you get one with a good resale value. Mr. Toastman.